Thank you, Sarfraj Khan, for responding. All right. So, in the last session, which happened on Friday, we have seen how to create a score tracker application, and we were successful to some extent. But this is not a fully generated application, I would say, fully developed application. It is not a fully developed application. Why? What is the reason? When I write this, I have got a small glitch, right? When I'm when I have done this, I've got a small glitch. I'll let you see that first, and then we will look into the other issues. So if I run the application on my device and show it to you on Visa, so the app is up and running. If you see, if you hit on plus, the value is incremented. If you hit on minus, the value is decremented. That is fine. That is fine. However, if I rotate my screen from portrait to landscape and landscape to portrait, the values are getting reset. Also, when I rotate the screen, the buttons are going too small. So how do we fix this error? How do we fix this? So first of all, we will fix the size of the button. How? I told you that when you give the layout weight attribute, you should make the height as 0 dp. Let's make it as wrap content back. Also, let's go to this one, wrap content. Let's also do the same with text view. Now you run the application and you will not get a problem like that. All right. Increment the value. Now rotate the screen. The value is still not fetched. However, the button size is remaining normal. All right. So how do we record the value even during the configuration changes of the activity? We'll look into it now. So there is a concept called saved instance state. Saved instance state Android. If you search for saved instance state Android, you get this save UI states URL. Preserving and restoring an activity's UI state in a timely fashion across system-initiated activity or application destruction is a crucial part of the user experience. In these cases, the user expects the UI state to remain the same, but the system destroys the activity and any state stored in it. To bridge the gap, user expectation and system behavior use a combination of view model objects, saved instance state that includes the onSave instance state method, and etc. So here, what are they suggesting us? They're suggesting us to go to a more advanced concept for UI, or otherwise they are also asking us to go through onSave instance state method. So if you jump into main activity here, after your onCreate method, so when you tap on this closing code block, you get to see which code block is associated with it. With that, we can um, identify something that is out of onCreate method. So after the onCreate method, we have a method called onSave instance state. And when you write onSave and wait for suggestions, obviously you will get some suggestions. And from those suggestions, you can choose the first suggestion from component activity. Simple. Once this is selected, so whatever the values that you want to store, you can store it inside this outstate bundle object. So what is a bundle? Bundle is a class, okay, that offers a data structure for us. And how do we use this data structure? To store values along with keys, right? As we want to store the count variable's value, I would write outstate dot put string. Why do I use put string? Because I want to put in. I need not to use put string. I should use put in because I want to store an integer value. Now you can give the key first and then pass the value next. And the key can be anything that you can remember. I would say key. Okay, right. And and there is another small thing that you need to do in the onCreate method after initializing all your views. And what is it? You have got saved instance state bundle object. You should first check if this is not null. Also, you should check if the saved instance state dot contains the key called key, because we gave key while storing the count value in the onSaved instance state method. Once this is done, you can directly write count, which is the variable that is equal to saved instance state dot get integer of key. Easy peasy, right? Next, you can display it on the text view by copying the same sentence. I can keep it here. Now let's run the application and see if it is actually uh, saving the data across the configuration changes of an activity. If I hit on plus, the value is incremented. Let us say if I rotate the screen, what happens? Even after rotating the screen, the same value is persisted, correct? Let us say I hit on minus and I rotate the screen from a landscape to portrait. Even then, the value is persisting. This is because on-save instance state, right? Okay. Some of you may not be able to understand what is happening in the background, right? So you might have understood the concept that you need to use onSave instance state method and store whatever the number of values you have into outstate bundle object along with keys. And once that is done, you can come to onCreate method and check if the values are stored and retrieve them if the values are stored by following this condition. This is quite easy to remember. However, understanding what is happening in the background is also essential, right? For that, let me take my tools and connect them to the computer. Okay. So in order to understand what is happening in the background, we need to understand activity life cycle in Android. So what is activity life cycle? From the time the activity is created till the time it is destroyed, whatever the phases that your activity goes through is called as the activity life cycle. Very simple thing. There are multiple phases involved. So the difficulty arrives there. There are multiple phases involved. So if you see this diagram, from the time it is created, it goes through activity running state, activity shutdown state, or sometimes app process kill state. From launching state, it goes through running state and it will die at shutdown state. All right, cool. So let us understand it in detail. So we have got these 6 callbacks on create. This is a method which you are seeing on the activity on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on destroy. Along with these 6 callbacks, we also have another callback called on restart. Okay. So what is an activity? An activity is a single screen in your application. One single screen, each screen in your application is called as an activity. Okay. So as soon as you click on the launcher icon, let us say there is a launcher icon. Okay. Let us say there is a launcher icon. This is launcher icon. You will be coming to on create method to create your activity. Okay. So inside the on create method, what will you do? You'll initialize all UI components. Okay. After initializing all UI components, your activity is still not visible to the user. Only when you go to on start method, activity becomes visible. Okay. Activity becomes visible only when you go to on start method. But it is not interactable yet. Then your flow goes through on resume method, which takes us to a state called app running state or activity running state. I should write activity running state because we are talking about each single activity in the application, not talking about the application as a whole. Activity running state. So during the on resume method, we can interact with the activity. Let us say now when your activity is running, you are interacting with a few UI components. Okay. Button, sorry, edit text box, 2 buttons, text view, and a button. Let us say you are interacting with these UI components, and suddenly you got a call from your spouse or from your home. Okay, you're supposed to pick that up. All right, you're supposed to pick that up. Once you picked it up, your activity goes to background. So when activity goes to background, it follows these states on pause, on stop. Okay. Now you cut the call and you came back to the activity. In that case, you will go through on restart, and from on restart, you go to on start, and from on start on resume, and then again your activity will be in the foreground. Let us say you clicked on back button. When the activity is running, you clicked on the back button. So back button, there is a back button, home button, and tasks button, right? You clicked on this back button because you want to exit the activity. In that case, from activities running state, you will go through on pause, on stop, and then on destroy. Once the on destroy method is encountered, it means that the activity is destroyed. Activity is destroyed. So this is all a bit clumsy to understand in the beginning. I completely agree with you. But slowly you'll get grip over this concept. All right. Anyway, even if you understand this concept, I am going to repeat this concept for another time right away. For another time, I'm going to repeat this concept right away. However, I just wanted to know how many of you are able to understand it in the first attempt itself. Just want to know. So if you understood it right at the moment, you can raise your hand. Thank you, Sir Rajkan, for raising your hand. Anyone else understood it in the first go? You can either respond in the chat or you can raise your hands. Okay, cool. No issues. Thanks, Ishika. All right. I will show you what happens with this act. So do you want me to take a new example to explain activity life cycle? Or can I continue with this? Okay, let us take a new application. Anyway, we will have a lot of work. We'll have a lot of applications to see. Let us create an activity, an empty activity. So hit on next. Make sure that the application name is given as activity life cycle. Okay. Leave the package name to its default. So why is this package name important? Because if you want to host your application on Google Play Store, your package name must be unique. If your package name is not unique, what happens? Your application will not be published on Google Play Store. So to make this package name unique, what am I doing? I'm doing this. Like I have been creating the package name by reversing the website name of our institution. And I'm just adding I'm just adding the app name at the end of it. This way, I will be 99% sure that it will not be rejected, that it will not be rejected by the Google Play Store. Once the package name is set, you can give the save location pointing out to whatever the folder you'd like to. I'd like to point it out to batch 15, and then I'll copy the same name with a slash, I'll put it. And of course, I should not have spaces in the folder name. I'm removing it. Set the language to Java and choose minimum required SDK to API 23 because I recommend this. Generally, when you choose minimum required SDK, it depends on the system requirements or the application requirements. It depends on the application requirements. Okay. If your client is requesting you to develop latest features, you're supposed to choose the latest version as the minimum required SDK. All right. If the feature can be addressed With the lower end versions also, you can choose as lower end version as possible. Hit on finish to create this project. Project is being created, and now you can see that there is on create method available right away at the moment. So we can also have other methods. What are the other methods we have? We have on start method. Just type on start. Yeah, good stream. You just override on start. And then we have on resume method, not on restart. We have on resume method. And then we have on pause. Sorry, it is on pause. We also have on stop. And then we have on destroy. We also have on restart. Okay. As I have created all these callbacks, you need not to think that you should create it in the same order. You can have on start method before on create method. That is absolutely fine. You can have on pause method before on resume method. It is absolutely fine. So the sequence of execution will be the same as shown in the figure. So there is this link. You can go through this link. The sequence of execution is same as the sequence shown in this diagram. Now, every time I encounter a method, I would like to log a message in the debugging window. So the debugging, everything happens in the logcat. So what will I do? I simply go to on create or on start any one method. I write log. Log is from android.util class. And from that, I choose V for verbose. I can also choose E, which is error, I, which is info. Let us choose I for information. And what is the tag? Main. Okay, main is our tag, or main3 is our tag. So tag is something that will help us to filter the messages. So what is the actual message I'm going to print? On start. I can copy the same log message, put it in the on create method. I would say instead of on start, I would say on create. In the similar way, I can put it on pause, and instead of on start, I can write on pause. Put the same message instead of on start, you say on resume. In the on stop, you say on stop. In the on destroy method, you say on destroy. In the on restart method, you say on restart. That's it, you're done, nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. Okay, I'm just logging the messages because I want to see based on what interaction which callbacks are executed. Okay, let me connect my device and run it on my device. Cool, my device is connected. Okay, right. So my device is connected. I can see that. Okay, right. It is connected. Now what will I do? I will simply place this command. Mm. I'll simply place it here. I'll open Logcat. I will reduce the size of this Android Studio because I want to show you based on what kind of interactions, what will be displayed for you. Okay. I will be printing my messages. Okay, let us run the application first. I'll be printing all my messages in the info section. So I choose info section and I'm waiting for messages that has main3 as the tag. Oh, come on, the same bold error, compare as 0 version is 33, target is also must be 33. You can hit on sync now so that the project will be synchronized. Right, it is done. You can run the application right away on your device. Open Logcat with main3, we want a message. Right, the app is running. As soon as the activity is coming to the foreground, you could see that you got on create, on start, and on resume. Right. So on create, on start, on resume are executed as soon as your activity is launched. Let us say, let us say you put it in background. So by hitting on this home button, you will put this activity in background, right? As soon as you put it in background, you got to see on pause and on stop methods are called. Correct? Let us say you bring it back, you bring it back. If you bring it back, you have got on restart, on start, and on resume methods executed in sequence. Correct. If you click on back button, what happens? On pause, on stop, and on destroy are called. Again, if you load the activity back, you get to see on create, on start, and on resume are called. What if you rotate the screen from portrait to landscape? If you rotate the screen from portrait to landscape, what methods are being called? Let us see it in detail. First, on pause, on stop, on destroy are called, and then on create, on start, on resume is called. That is the very reason your UI is going to be reset when you rotate your screen from portrait to landscape and vice versa. Okay, you can see it again. You are in on resume method now. I have highlighted it in the Android Studio if you closely see. I just rotated my device from landscape to portrait. Even then, your activity will restart. So you can see on pause, on stop, on destroy methods are called. And after that, on create, on start, and on resume methods are called. Right? So based on these kind of interactions, based on this, we understood that the life cycle. So just now my activities got locked. That is why I got my activity into background, and then as soon as I unlock the device, you are getting through C on restart, on start, on resume methods again. So these are the lifecycle callback methods that we will encounter in general, and we need to be really aware of it. Otherwise, if you are working with multiple activities in an application, that would be difficult for you to manage the activities. Okay. Now tell me if everyone understood this process of how the callback methods will be called. Has everyone understood it? I recommend you to go through the link provided in the chat. Thank you, Ishika. Thank you, Sarfraj Khan. So anybody wants me to repeat it? Okay. There is something called activity stack. I should explain it. I'm closing this down because I need to explain about activity stack. Now you have three activities, let us suppose. Activity A, activity B, and activity C. Let us also take the fourth activity, which is activity D. So these are all the different activities in a single app. The app name is something like Hello. So Hello is your app name. And it has all the four activities. Among them, A is the launcher activity. It is the launcher activity. So as soon as Hello icon, whatever the icon that Hello has, if it is clicked, we should be loading A onto the system. And when you load this activity, you have an activity stack. So tell me what is a stack? Sorry, that is a very bad diagram, I would say. So tell me what is a stack? Have you got an idea on stack? What is a stack? How does it work? Do you know that? A stack works in LIFO, as Altaf Raja said, rightly pointed out. It is activity stack. So where activities reside. And this works in LIFO. LIFO means last in, first out. Whatever the element that comes last, it goes first. So when you launch an activity, it goes into this stack. So now we have A here. Your top is pointing to A. So this is top. Okay. I'll put it here. This is top. This is pointing to A. This is now pointing to A. Okay. Now, as soon as your activity is launched, what are the callback methods that we will encounter? You can respond in the chat. I'm waiting for your responses in the chat. What are the callback methods that gets called when your activity is launched? Yes, Anil rightly said. Altaf Raja gave the right answer on create, on start, and on resume. Fantastic. So your A went through on create, on start, and on resume. Your activity is in running state. Now what we did was we clicked on a button that moved us from activity A to activity B. Now what happens to A? A must go into the background, isn't it? And when it goes to the background, you're calling on pause and on stop methods. Because your activity is still alive, but it is residing in the background. Now tell me what happens to B. B gets added in the stack and your top will be pointing to B. Correct? And B will come into the foreground. And when it comes to the foreground, what callback methods will be encountered? On create, on start, on resume. And then your activity comes to the running state. You clicked on another button that took you to C. So same thing happens to B. B will be in the background and on pause and on stop methods will be called. Correct? And then C is added to stack as usually. And this top comes to, and this top points C. That is also usual case. And in C activity, what happens? On create, on start, on resume methods will be called. And then if you click on another button, if it takes you to C, if it takes you to D, on pause And on stop methods will also be called on C as well. And in D is added to the activity stack and the top points to D. So this is all a usual case. This is all a usual case. And in D, what are the callback methods that we get that gets called? On create, on start, and on resume. Right. So now your D is running state. Now your D is in running state. Now the user was frustrated and clicked on back button on D. So then what happens to D? So D will be popped out of the stack. Okay. So D gets erased. And your top will come back to the very next activity, which is C. So in the lifecycle callbacks, what are the methods that gets called when this is happening? On pause. Can someone tell me that? On stop. And then what method will be called? On destroy. Then you will come back to C. You will come, sorry, you will come back to C. When you come back to C, what methods will be called on C? Can someone respond me on that? Can someone respond to me on that? When you come back to C, what API what callback methods will be called on top of C? They will be on restart. Yes, correct. Altaf on start and on resume. So on restart, on start, on resume. Now your activity is again in running state as your top is pointed out by C. What if you click on back button on C as well? C will get popped out, which means C will be destroyed here. And you will be moving your top to the very next activity. Okay. So in that moment, what happens is from the on resume method, you get to see on pause, on stop, and on destroy. And you will be invoking this B method. Now in the B method, the same, these three methods repeats, same ditto. And when you click on the back button, the same kind of popping happens in the stack. So that's how the life cycles work. Also, this activity stack is given a name in Android, and that is called task. Very simple to understand. When your activity loads in, when it is in the foreground, it is not added to stack. When it is in background, it is going to be added in the stack. And when you are coming out of each activity, your activity is popping out of the stack. So all this process is maintained by activity stack, and that is also called as task. That is also called as task. Hope it is easy to follow. I'm trying to make things that are complex as easy as possible. In the initial stages, you'll find a small confusion in mind, that is for sure. No matter how much clarity you have, how much you are able to understand, you'll still feel some that there is a small gap. And that gap can be filled only by practice and only by referring to the concepts that are discussed. Maybe on day 9 or 10, you'll feel flexible. I know that because I'm a student before. Right. So if you understood this, give me a thumbs up on the chat. Thank you, Gulshan Kumar. Thank you, Sarfaraz Khan. Thank you, Manoj. If you do not understand this, if you want me to repeat, I am ready to repeat. Thank you, Ishika, for understanding it. Cool. So let us not further dig into this concept because, or let us not discuss another concept for today, uh, because this is something volatile. So if you understand it today, if you do not, if you do not refer today once again, it's gone. It is volatile. The subject is gone. So let us put an end for the discussions till here. Please refer to the concept by following the link that is already given to you. Please do follow that link. Okay. For any other details based on the course, for the corresponding to the course, for all the details corresponding to the course, you can contact John Sir from Naresh Technologies. His number is also shared in the chat. It is 799 Okay. You can contact John Sir through WhatsApp, and you can get the further details about this course. Okay. You'll get the fee details. You'll also get any other details of your interest from John Sir. Please take a note of this number and contact John Sir as possible. I mean, as much as possible, you please try to contact John Sir only on WhatsApp because he is engaged in multiple activities. He'll not be able to pick up your calls. So make sure that you're giving him a WhatsApp message. If something is important, you'll get a call from him. That is for sure. I know him. Okay. Please make a note of this number, contact John Sir, and reserve your seat to this course. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for this opportunity. I'll see you tomorrow at sharp 7 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good day. Altaf Raja, yes, that is correct. That is correct, Altaf Raja. You can also make the config changes orientation to screen size. Yeah. You can freeze the screen in such a way that it is not rotating. That is another solution for this problem. Right, Altaf? Good. Thank you. Take care. Bye.